So, how do we explain this contradiction between the myth that politicians reflect the public and the reality that on most economic issues they actually ignore public opinion? Well, let's look at how the news media covers public opinion. When the media report on polls, what they're actually doing is telling a story about what public opinion is rather than just reflecting it. They're constructing how we understand public opinion. And the news media have a lot of power here because they choose what questions to ask and what questions not to ask. Ordinary people's opinions usually only count in as much as they respond to that conversation. Media influence on public opinion has been studied for many years now. We know, for example, that the media often play what's called an agenda-setting role. Public concern about issues tends to follow media coverage of those issues rather than any changes in the real world. A few years ago, the degradation of the environment, issues like global warming, destruction of wilderness and chronic air, water and soil pollution, started to get a fair amount of media coverage. Accordingly, polls suggested this was one of the most important issues for most people. But then the news media started to lose interest. And even though most of the environmental problems have actually become worse since then, polls showed public concern decreasing. Or take an issue like drugs. Over the last 2 decades, public concern about drugs has gone from 3% to over 50% and back to 3% in polls. And those shifts have absolutely nothing to do with the scale of the problem and everything to do with the volume of media coverage. The power of the media to define what issues are seen as important has to do with the relationship between what the media report and what they don't. Media influence in this sense is subtle but profound. The media can help shape or modify what we know about an issue.